The North Carolina National Guard is no longer assisting with Western North Carolina and the Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. Now, their social media page, if you looked at that, would make you think otherwise. Take a look. Here to discuss is Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze News, Steve Baker, our investigative journalist for Blaze News, and JP Decker. He's the executive director of Mercury One. So, JP, let's start with you. You were in North Carolina last week. Let us know an update and things that you saw there on the ground.
Yeah, we hadn't been here probably for about 7 weeks. You and I were there not too long after the hurricane hit, and then we've had partners and other volunteers there. And Steve will speak to this too. The devastation is still there. Nothing has really changed in regards to some of those buildings in Asheville or Black Mountain. It's still there. I mean, 20 to 30 piles tall, feet tall of debris. And just think about the mindset of the locals that are there and of the kids who have to drive through that every single day. I mean, that weighs on you. We saw it in Lahaina. And so, just to drive through there, I ended up going to Relief, North Carolina, and driving up there took about an hour and a half. And to see the devastation all along the way, it's just the impact of this. I don't think we still fully know. And the fact that FEMA is posting videos like that, when I was there was no FEMA, there was no National Guard. I think there was, I don't even remember seeing the Red Cross there, but there's other amazing nonprofits there. Obviously, Mercury One's there. We plan on being there for a very long time. But, I think just being there again and seeing the devastation is still there. It's shocking.
So you didn't hear inspiring movement and music and see these people moving things around?
No, sure didn't. Didn't see any of that. In fact, it was the everyday person who was standing in the gap and doing what the government should have been doing.
But one of the new bright, shiny things that you did see in downtown Asheville, they were opening a new public bathroom. It's open 24/7 for the homeless people. JP, it came with a price tag of $400,000.
$400,000, and it was funny. I actually saw the tweet from Matt, who's on Twitter. You've probably seen him. He's there in North Carolina, and it said, I mean, look at that thing. It was $400,000, and most of the businesses there said they created it so that it would cover up the drug problem that's there, because there's a major drug problem in Asheville. But seeing this, knowing that the funds that were, there was COVID funds, and it was used to build this, and they did a big presentation, and I happened to just be driving through Asheville at the time and drove right past it. It was just shocking to me, yet again, just even the local government. This shows how important it is, the local government elections are, when you have people who are willing to do something like this, and when there's people that are suffering and living in tents. It's hard to fathom that that's happening in our own country.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And amen to that. I mean, if there's one thing anyone listening to this takes away, it's to remember that no one's going to come to save you. Your local officials are very, very important. But let's speak to how the people of Western North Carolina have been abandoned with you guys by the National Guard. Steve, you and Joe Hanneman have this piece out at theblazenews.com, which is a story in itself, right? How the process of putting together that article, in which you explained that they have pulled all their members out of that part of the state, even though we see these clips on social media.
It was very difficult to actually listen to the spokespersons as they stuttered, admitting to me, as we called them, because we called the public affairs officers of the 18th Airborne, who was there when I was there at Savage Freedoms for 3 weeks. We made relationships with these people and became very friendly with them. We were seeing each other every day. We were going out to the disaster relief site, like Relief that you were talking about, JP, where utter devastation, going out with their dog teams, going out with their people, helping recover bodies and also help removing debris and clearing people's property, mucking out their buildings to whatever extent those buildings remained. And then to see these forces removed and these help. Look, I get very emotional about this. It's almost hard for me to talk. Normally, I don't have a hard time speaking about this because there's so much that is so overwhelming about this. And when I drove through last week, like JP did, and I drove over 100 miles through the most devastated areas in the western part of the state, and mile after mile after mile, tent after tent after tent, where people won't leave their property because they're afraid they're going to lose it if they leave. And so they're staying in these tents. And you see houses up in trees, 30 feet up in trees above the current water line. And not one military vehicle, not one troop on the ground again. So by the time I got to Dallas last week, I started making those phone calls, started calling the public affairs officers. Yes, you're right, Mr. Baker, we withdrew. And then you call the National Guard. That's correct, we withdrew. You call another higher up and you get the stuttering, and they refer you to somebody else higher up. And then we call FEMA. I'm communicating with FEMA all day today as they're trying to answer some of our questions.
Did they give you any excuses why they're no longer there?
No.
Did they even try?
No. And when we ask why that's the end of it. There is no answer because there is no logical answer. We're talking about the best equipped, best trained, most professional organization in the world is the United States Army in terms of what the assets that they have to bring to bear. And just the National Guard in North Carolina alone has 3 battalions of engineers never employed in Western North Carolina.
I just want to throw this out here because is it in this process, after you and Joe started asking questions, this thank you letter was posted, right? November 25th. Let me read this. I mean, so they asked, did everyone leave? Can you just verify if everyone left? And then this letter was posted that said, this joint task force rescued over 865 people, delivered over 22,000 tons of relief supplies, yada, yada. And it's sort of a thank you for everyone who's been out here. But you say that was sent November 21st to the troops as a thank you. Right. And then they were gone, and they just posted that the 25th. So they've been out for a while, and no one's talking about it?
We tracked their social media. We tracked the North Carolina National Guard social media all day on Saturday and Sunday. They were putting up fresh posts, fresh photos that had never been posted before, with the titles and the description of the photos, implying that they were still doing the work. And in fact, up until this new letter was posted, their pinned post said that we're not going to leave you, that we are on a no-fail mission, and we will not leave until this mission is complete. But they were sent home on the 19th. And then that letter was posted yesterday, and I believe that was in response to the pressure campaign that we began on them. But more importantly, they gave themselves away because they were showing and posturing themselves as still being and doing the job, but they were showing us photos of trees still green, the leaves, but that's not the situation in Nashville
There's snow
anymore.
on the ground.
There's snow on the ground and the leaves are gone.
This is how it works. I'm glad that you were there to just bring us this news, and Mercury One as well. I know Suzanne is currently there. I just want to get back to the people that are there still need housing, right? There is temporary housing. They're trying to do things there. I know Mercury One is part of that and helping to put people up in hotels. But what is the real life situation still for a lot of these people?
I mean, Steve, you saw this last week. You just said it. The tents are, I mean, just think about this. It was, when I was there, I think it dropped down to about 30 degrees. The wind was coming in, that was blowing in the snowstorm that they just had. And it was extremely cold. And myself, and many others were trying to find some housing for a lot of these people. But like you said, many are still scared of leaving their property. We've seen it before where property is being taken away from these landowners, and they're afraid that it might happen again. And so that's where, we are trying to find, mobile homes. We're trying to find RVs, anything. But we're also looking to long-term building as well. There's a lot that's going on there.
So What do they need, and how is Mercury One helping? What can we still do?
Yeah, I mean, if you give to Mercury One at mercuryone.org, 100% of the donation goes downrange. And what we're doing right now is finding solutions for the long term. The short term of tents, it's not gonna last come January, because January they're going to have more snowstorms. And so we're looking at RVs. We're looking at how to provide for these people who are in the RVs already. We're looking at mobile homes. We're looking at some prefab homes that'll go in some of these areas, but also we want to contract with the local community in North Carolina so that we can help try to bring some of the money back in to the state.
Steve, final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts are that we're going to find out why they were pulled out. Now, I have an idea. We were taught long ago, when we don't have an answer, you follow the money. And there's about to be billions and billions of dollars coming in from the federal government into North Carolina, and that's going to be going into the hands of the prime contractors. So we've got to find out where those relationships are, because, quite frankly, those contractors don't want the Army doing the work for free.